Some pretty massive Marvel news just hit the airwaves, and we finally have confirmation on who's going to direct the X-Men. So let's take a couple minutes to talk about who's directing the film, why I think it's a good choice, and how this basically confirms what that new 2028 date is going to be filled by. Are you ready for the Uncanny X-Men? Well, ever since yesterday when Marvel confirmed a new release date in 2028, people have been wondering what film this is going to be. Will it be Blade, Midnight Suns, potential Fantastic Four sequel, Spider-Man, or the X-Men? And based on today's news, I think we know. Now, we've heard for a while that Thunderbolts director Jake Schreier was going to take over the role and be helming Marvel's next iteration of the classic X-Men characters, but this has always lived in Rumorville. But now, earlier today, Variety actually confirmed that he is indeed directing the upcoming film. Now, there were reports back in May that Schreier was in talks to direct X-Men, including some speculation the director had turned down some work from other studios to try to make room for this big Marvel project. Now, most of the rumors died down as the Thunderbolts came out, and a lot of the reactions to that film started to build up. And despite the movie not doing great at the box office, it is undeniable it was a return to form for Marvel Studios and a really, really fun movie. Now, beyond that, we don't know much else about this film, including the cast, but we do know the script is being written by Michael Leslie, and of course Kevin Feige is set as producer. Now, despite the fact that Thunderbolts didn't really make a ton of money, and even ended up in the red ink, the movie itself captured everything that we need for a good X-Men film. This movie did a great job drawing connections between the characters, and ultimately, the X-Men are a family, and that's something he absolutely proved he could establish with characters in the Thunderbolts, and these characters aren't typically tied that way together. Additionally, the X-Men have huge name recognition. I think I've said this many times on this channel, you cannot underestimate the X-Men. Simply including many of those X-Men characters in Deadpool and Wolverine absolutely blew that movie up, and the impact of the X-Men franchise can't be underestimated. People seem to forget the X-Men were well established before the era of Marvel Studios, and there are many general moviegoers when you think of superhero films, those characters harken back to the quote, good old days. Add in the fact that many of those characters and actors are returning for Avengers Doomsday, like Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Rebecca Romijn, James Marden, and Kelsey Grammer, and I suspect Hugh Jackman. Well, Marvel has themselves set up for a really, really big win. Now, I do believe all these characters will be recast, and we won't see very many familiar faces. And if we're to believe what we're hearing from many of the Hollywood insiders, I highly suspect this new X-Men team is going to focus on a very X-Men 97-like roster of characters, probably just minus Logan. Now, one thing to keep in mind, though, is Kevin Feige tends to like to tread on ground that hasn't been tread on before. We've seen that with many of Spider-Man's villains with Tom Holland. And I suspect we should be ready for some team members that have not come to life in live action. Regardless, Jake Schreier's directing abilities were absolutely showcased perfectly in the Thunderbolts, and I think he is a great choice. The box office was disappointing, but it doesn't reflect the quality of the work. And although typically directors get picked back up when the film is a huge success, well, quite honestly, I don't think Marvel wants to let Schreier go because he's such a great storyteller. And if they tied him into the first X-Men film, I do believe he will be tied directly to several more. Now, the main question I do have, though, is we did hear some reports that the Russo brothers were going to somehow be tied into developing this project, so I don't think they will be directing it, but I do suspect they will have some kind of producer role alongside Kevin Feige. I think a lot of these pieces will be put on the board in the Secret Wars, and I would be utterly shocked if that 2028 film is not this upcoming X-Men reboot. Now, we're all following X-Men pretty closely. It's going to probably be Marvel's most anticipated project, maybe even bigger than Secret Wars, and I think absolutely key to the future of Marvel Studios as they try to establish the mutant era at Marvel Studios and carry the whole force of the MCU into the future. Obviously, we're watching this one pretty closely. We're going to bring you any new updates on X-Men as they come in, but until we know more, we're going to have to wait and see. Before we take off, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and ring the bell for all the updates. We do daily Marvel and DC news, and we want to bring you all the news truthfully and transparently so you're really in the know.